Hello music fans, this is Death by Unicorn, where we talk about metal, rock, and prog music. And let's talk about what's new in 2024. Today I'm going to talk about 6 new albums that came out over the past week and give my quick first impressions of them. I'll talk about them in my order of preference, starting with Julie Christmas and her album Ridiculous and Full of Blood. This is the third album by this American artist. It's post-metal with post-hardcore and sludge metal influences in there. And this one is excellent. It gets my excellent stamp. This is an artist. She collaborated with Cult of Luna in 2016 on an album called Mariner. And that is my favorite Cult of Luna album. All of Julie Christmas's solo stuff that I've heard sounds good too, but I'd never listened to a full album by her yet besides Mariner until this one. Before I listened to this full album, I heard 2 singles. They sounded good, so that got me to add this to my list to check out. They were called Not Enough and Supernatural. Upon listening to the album, some of my favorite tracks were Thin Skin, which is just an awesome song that has some parts in 7 beats per bar, some parts in 4 beats per bar. Her vocals are very unique and almost like shrieky at points, but very like catchy and emotional. Um, Mostly singing, but sometimes it's like in between singing and screaming, and the odd time she even lets out like a full-on scream. And then my favorite track on the album is called End of the World, which features Johannes Persson, who does guitars and vocals in Cult of Luna. So this track here, End of the World, sounds the most like her collaboration with Cult of Luna, which I love. Julie Christmas really reminds me a bit of Chelsea Wolfe in that they've both collaborated with metal bands before. Chelsea Wolfe collaborated with Converge, Julie Christmas with Cult of Luna. They both have a very distinct sound that blends genres a lot, and it's hard to describe them, but they have this darkness to them. So check this out if you like Cult of Luna or Chelsea Wolfe and that kind of darkness and unique atmosphere that Julie Christmas can bring. Next up, I want to talk about Ulcerate and their album Cutting the Throat of God. This is the 7th album by this band from New Zealand, and it's avant-garde technical death metal with post-metal influences. Another one that gets my excellent stamp of approval. No albums this week got near masterpiece or masterpiece for me, so the best ones are still in my excellent tier, and then there's a bunch in very good and one that I put in my good tier. So these first 2 are my excellent ones for the week. This one by Ulcerate is one that I haven't heard all their albums yet, but I thought their last album from 2020, Stare into Death and Be Still, was an excellent album as well. The singles that came out for their new 2024 release were also excellent, so I really expected great things from Ulcerate, and they really delivered. This album would be a great one for fans of that crazy dissonant death metal with really guttural vocals the whole time, but also a very cool and unique avant-garde and atmospheric vibe to everything. If you like bands like Ad Nauseum and Artificial Brain, I think you'll like this. Next up, we're into my very good tier now, and let's start this off with Return to the Earth and their album Stalagmite Steeple, the 5th album by this band from the UK. This is progressive rock with alternative and post-rock influences. I'd never listened to an album by them before either, but I heard the single Dark Morality, and that's just a really beautiful atmospheric track. The whole album by Return to the Earth just continues in that vibe and would be really good for fans of Porcupine Tree, Pink Floyd, and the Pineapple Thief. I contemplated putting this in my excellent tier, but I held it back because the whole album just has a very similar vibe, and that it's just melancholy and atmospheric the whole time. There isn't much variety. And they do sound a lot like those bands, other bands I mentioned, Porcupine Tree, Pink Floyd, Pineapple Thief. But I think people who like that will enjoy this like I did. I just don't see it winning too many points for originality or innovation. But if you like the sounds of that, check out Return to the Earth and their album Stalagmite Steeple. Next up, also in my very good tier, is the Decemberists with their album As It Ever Was, So It Will Begin. This is the 9th album by this American band, and this is indie rock. It's got some pop, some folk, some country, alternative, art rock, and progressive rock influences. And I've liked what I've heard from the Decemberists before, but I've really never been in love with any of it. The first single I heard from this new album is a straightforward but catchy indie rock song called Burial Ground. The second single, though, was a 19-minute indie rock prog epic called Joan in the Garden, which is definitely more interesting, probably the most interesting song to be on the album. But I'm not sure it quite warrants to be as long as it is, because there's a very lengthy section in it of what I like to call pointless ambient noise that could certainly have been shortened. But I do like the song, and I like that there's lots of different cool parts. It really got me interested in checking out the whole album. The majority of the album here by the Decemberists has this indie folk rock vibe that blends in some country, but there's sometimes a hint of art rock and prog rock in there. If you're a fan of bands like Attack in Black and Daniel Romano's outfit, it kind of reminds me of those groups and the kinds of influences and genres that it combines. Check that out if that sounds good to you. Last one in my very good tier that I'm going to mention today is by Airbag, and it's called The Century of the Self. This is the 6th album by this Norwegian band. It's a neo-prog rock band, and another one for fans of Porcupine Tree and Pink Floyd, but this one has a bit more of a Radiohead vibe to it as well. It's got a bit of that alternative rock influence mixed in there with the prog. The single Awakening actually, to me, sounds like a mixture of the songs Lazarus by Porcupine Tree and Creep by Radiohead, but it's got somebody who sounds like David Gilmour of Pink Floyd playing lead guitar. Check it out if you're a fan of all those groups. And the last one that I want to mention for today's video is Black Country Communion and BCC5, the 5th album by this American band that's hard rock with blues influences. And this is a super group that features bassist and lead vocalist Glenn Hughes, who's played in Trapeze, Deep Purple, and Black Sabbath, guitarist and second vocalist Joe Bonamassa, drummer Jason Bonham, who's the son of John Bonham of Led Zeppelin and has also played in Led Zeppelin himself after his father's death, and keyboardist Derek Sherinian, who has toured and recorded for Alice Cooper, Billy Idol, among others. He was a member of Dream Theater from 94 to 99. He's a founder of Planet X and Sons of Apollo and Who Gods Destroy, and has released 9 solo albums with a lot of great guest musicians, including Slash and Yngwie Malmsteen, Alan Holdsworth, and more. The all-star cast on this album by Black Country Communion alone is a reason for me to check this out. Even though their sound is a bit old school for my taste, it's kind of that bluesy hard rock stuff, kind of like boomer rock, but I like a lot of the classics in that genre from artists like Deep Purple and Led Zeppelin. So I thought I'd give this a shot, and I thought if this lives up to those classics from Deep Purple and Led Zeppelin, it could be really great. It ended up being pretty good, but not a classic or anything, nothing special. The sound was a bit like AC/DC chord progressions meets Soundgarden vocals meets Deep Purple and Led Zeppelin style arrangements and playing. Check this out if that sounds appealing to you. Definitely a good album, but I probably prefer to listen to the classics in this genre over any of this stuff. And that's it for my first impressions of these 6 albums that came out recently. What did you think of these albums? Let me know down in the comments. And did anything else come out recently that I might have missed? I can't listen to everything, but if there's some really great stuff that you think I'll enjoy, let me know. And stay tuned for next time. Peace out.